You used it this morning, and you'll use it again tonight. But you've never stopped to ask where it came from, or how a simple bar became humanity's most powerful hygiene tool. The story of soap stretches back nearly 5,000 years, through ancient rivers, Roman legends, and one of the most important scientific revolutions in human history. Before soap, people cleaned themselves with sand, pumice stone, clay, and animal fat. It worked after a fashion, but it wasn't what we'd call clean. The oldest known soap recipe dates to around 2800 BCE, written on a Babylonian clay tablet. It lists water, alkali, and cassia oil boiled together. That early Babylonian soap wasn't used for washing bodies. It was used for cleaning wool and textiles. Personal hygiene was a different matter entirely. Egyptian texts from around 1500 BCE describe a soap-like paste made from animal and vegetable oils mixed with alkaline salts. It treated skin disease as much as it cleaned. For most of ancient history, soap lived in two separate worlds, as a medical ointment and as an industrial cleaner. Nobody had quite combined them yet. The Romans were fastidious bathers, but historians debate how much soap they actually used. Many bathed with olive oil and a curved bronze scraper called a strigil instead. Then there's a legend widely repeated, but treat it with caution. On a hill called Mount Sapo, near Rome, animals were sacrificed and their fat mixed with wood ash. According to the story, rain carried the fatandash mixture into the clay banks of the Tiber River. Women washing clothes there noticed the clay made their laundry cleaner. It's a compelling origin story, but no ancient source confirms it, and some historians suspect the word soap and sapo connection was invented much later. We simply don't know. What we do know is that the Romans produced soap commercially. The ruins of Pompeii, buried in 79 CE, contained what appears to have been a soap-making workshop. Between the 7th and 13th centuries, soap-making advanced dramatically in the Islamic world. Chemists in the Middle East developed hard, perfumed bar soaps far closer to what we use today. The city of Aleppo, in modern Syria, may have been producing bar soap from olive oil and laurel berry oil for over 1,000 years. Aleppo soap is still made there today. Soap-making knowledge spread into Europe through trade and the Crusades. By the 12th century, cities like Marseille in France and Castile in Spain were producing it on a significant scale. Castile soap, made from pure olive oil, became a luxury product that wealthy Europeans coveted. The name survives today on the labels of many premium soaps. In Britain, soap was so valuable it was taxed for over 200 years. The soap tax wasn't repealed until 1853, keeping soap out of reach for ordinary working people. But what is soap, chemically, and why does it work? The answer lies in a reaction called saponification, and it happens the same way today as it did in ancient Babylon. When you heat a fat, like animal tallow or vegetable oil, with a strong alkali like lye, the molecules break apart and rearrange themselves into something entirely new. The result is a soap molecule with a split personality. One end is attracted to water, the other end is attracted to grease. This simple fact explains everything. When you wash your hands, the grease-loving end of each soap molecule buries itself in the oil and grime on your skin. The water-loving end stays in the water. As you rinse, those water-loving ends drag the whole structure, grease, bacteria, and all, off your skin and down the drain. That is all soap is doing. Saponification also produces glycerol as a byproduct. Glycerol is a natural skin softener. Commercial manufacturers often remove it to sell separately. Handmade soaps leave it in. By the early 1800s, even with this elegant chemistry, soap was still a luxury for much of the world. People bathed infrequently. The smell of cities was, by today's standards, extraordinary. In 1847, a Hungarian physician named Ignaz Semmelweis made a disturbing observation in a Vienna maternity ward. Mothers were dying of fever at catastrophic rates. The ward, staffed by doctors who came directly from performing autopsies, had a dramatically higher death rate than the ward staffed by midwives. Semmelweis connected the dots. He introduced mandatory handwashing with chlorinated lime solution. The death rate collapsed almost immediately. He had stumbled onto something enormous before anyone understood why it worked. Tragically, Semmelweis was ridiculed by the medical establishment. The idea that doctors could be transmitting disease was seen as an insult. He died in an asylum in 1865, unrecognized. Then, in the 1860s, the French chemist Louis Pasteur demonstrated that disease was caused by microscopic living organisms, bacteria. The germ theory of disease finally had evidence. The German physician Robert Koch followed, identifying specific bacteria as the causes of tuberculosis, cholera, and anthrax. The invisible world was suddenly visible and terrifying. Suddenly, soap wasn't about smelling pleasant or getting wool clean. It was a weapon. It could remove the organisms Pasteur and Koch had revealed. The entire purpose of soap was rewritten. The British surgeon Joseph Lister applied germ theory directly to surgery, pioneering antiseptic techniques in the 1860s and 70s. Handwashing moved from social courtesy to clinical protocol. Soap manufacturers recognized the shift immediately. They began marketing soap not as a cleaning product, but as a matter of survival. The messaging was blunt: wash or risk death. British brands like Pear's Soap launched some of the first modern mass-market advertising campaigns in the 1880s, linking cleanliness with health, respectability, and a vision of modern progress. Production industrialized. Prices collapsed. What had been taxed and rationed became cheap and abundant. By the late 19th century, soap was finally moving from wealthy households into working-class ones. Governments embraced soap too. Public health campaigns across Europe and America in the early 1900s promoted handwashing as a civic duty, part of the new, urgent science of hygiene. By the 1920s, soap was a household staple across the industrialized world. Per-person consumption had climbed dramatically in just a few decades. The transformation was nearly complete. Chemists kept refining the formula. Synthetic detergents arrived in the mid-20th century, surfactants that worked in hard water, where traditional soap left behind an irritating residue. Technically, most of what we call soap today, dish soap, shampoo, body wash, is actually a detergent. True soap is a specific chemical compound. The distinction blurred long ago. In the 1980s and 90s, antibacterial soaps containing a chemical called triclosan became enormously popular. Manufacturers promised protection that went beyond what ordinary soap could offer. In 2017, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration banned triclosan from consumer soaps, ruling that manufacturers had not proven it was safer or more effective than regular soap. Repeated studies have confirmed that plain soap and water, used correctly for at least 20 seconds, is as effective as any antibacterial product at removing pathogens from the skin. In 2020, a global pandemic reminded the entire world, simultaneously, of a fact that Semmelweis had discovered in 1847. Wash your hands. Use soap. In those early lockdown weeks, people panic-bought soap. Soap, a product descended from a Babylonian clay tablet nearly 5,000 years old, was suddenly sold out in every store. The saponification chemistry in that bar on your shelf is essentially identical to what a soap maker in ancient Aleppo used over 1,000 years ago. The underlying physics does not change. A single soap molecule, one hydrophilic head, one hydrophobic tail, has outlasted empires, survived centuries of taxation, and helped defeat diseases that once killed millions. The bar beside your sink carries 5,000 years of human ingenuity. It started as a textile cleaner in Babylon and became the most effective disease prevention tool ever devised. Every time you lather up, you complete a chain running from ancient clay tablets through Pasteur's laboratory to pandemic-era empty shelves. It is one of the oldest rituals in human civilization. This is Origins. Subscribe and come back tomorrow. There's a new origin every single morning.